Hey everybody, ronarray here, and most of the players in Path of Exile 2 finally reached endgame. In this video, I wanted to showcase some promising cool uniques for the endgame, which could be beneficial for our monk builds, for example, or for any other builds too. It's mostly going to be my opinion and showcasing what kind of items you should look for and in what situations you can use them. Feel free to click on particular timestamps for any kind of item you're interested in, and let's go. And the first item we have on the list is Hand of Wisdom and Action, Parpative Wraps. Those are gloves, which are just amazing for most of the monks builds right now. It should also work for my Crit Wave Monk build too, and I think it could be a very nice chasing item. So generally, Hand of Wisdom and Action can provide 3% of increased attack speed per 25 dexterity and 1 to 10 lightning damage to attacks per 10 intelligence. Since while playing Monk we are mostly stacking a lot of dexterity, but we still need to reach at least 120 intelligence, we are going to receive a lot of damage. Gloves by themselves also providing dexterity and intelligence and could help a lot with balancing stats. I think right now Hand of Wisdom and Action is probably item that gives the most DPS to my monk build compared to anything else except the weapon. So I think those gloves will be very popular, even though it could be a little hard to get, because they're most of the time dropping from the Xashed boss, which is kinda hard to find and stack. So going forward, the next item is very unusual, it's this Torment Emerald Ring. When you are using this Torment, you can't use the second ring, and that's a pretty huge downside. However, I think it could be playable for both Monk and other builds too. Right now, Theme's Torment can provide up to 40% increased rarity of items found, and that's a huge increase, which is going to help a lot with drops. And since we don't have a lot of ways to stack rarity right now, Thief's Torment working very good for kind of magic fine builds in Path of Exile 2 if you want to improve your loot in general. It also gives 15% to all elemental resistances, which is nice. And reduced durations of curses on you could help at some situations. Gaining life and mana per enemy hit with attacks could be very cool too, especially if you don't really spend too much mana in one big go. I think that ring is working the best at rangers, but it could be used at monk too if you're farming lower tiers of mobs or just interested to boost your loot and don't really care about damage or survivability. Next step is the amulet, which can make you an ultimate glass cannon. It's Rondel of Fragility Lanner amulet. Right now it can give up to 30% increased skill speed, 30% increased critical hit chance, and 50% increased damage, making it absolutely huge to improve your damage for monk builds or any other builds that are use critical hit chance and increased damage in general. But here is the downside. There is completely no life on that amulet, so you will be completely unable to buff it. And there's also minus 30% to all elemental resistance, and no stats at all. That way, Rondel of Fragility could still be a good option if you really want to play a complete glass cannon. But right now, I would say it's very questionable because downsides are pretty big and you can still roll a lot of damage even on basic amulet. However, if you really want to hit hard, I think it could be a very good option. And next item is absolutely obvious, it's Headhunter Heavy Belt. I think Headhunter with the current iteration is good for mapping at almost any build, because it can provide 60 maximum life, dexterity and strength. It's stacking very well because you usually don't have a lot of cool bonuses on belts right now. That way Headhunter would probably be very good for my monk or any other build that you can find. Generally, gaining some modifiers from rares is working very nice right now. But I think that item is pretty obvious, it's been a chasing item in Path of Exile 1 and it still stays chasing item in Path of Exile 2 as well. And the next item is Death Rush Emerald Ring. I think that ring is pretty special. Most of the stats on it are not really good, but you can gain Onslaught for 4 seconds on kill. Onslaught right now providing 10% of movement speed, making your build significantly faster. Since it's harder to stack movement speed, especially if you're not going for Queen, right now Death Rush could be a pretty decent option just if you want to go fast through content. That way you should just respec and change one of your ring and you will be able to run it just fine. Next item is a ring again, and pretty unusual. It's the Doedre Damning Lazula ring. It can give you can apply an additional curse, and if you have a lot of spirit and you want to stack one more curse on top of temporal chains that we are currently using in the monk build. For example, you can use Enfeeble here. You can use the Doedre Damning just fine. And if you're not ignoring elemental resistances of enemies while you're doing critical damage with your monk, picking the Doedre Damning and on top of temporal chains adding some cures that will lower enemy resistance such as conductivity could be a very great idea. The rest of the stats are pretty mediocre, there are some elemental resistances and that's pretty much it, but in some cases it could be worth it. And the next ring is very unusual and it goes mostly for cold related builds. It's Polcirkeln ring, which gives you enemy chilled by your hits can be shattered as thoughts frozen. So that ring could be heavily helpful if you are playing a cold build or if you are moving your lightning damage to the cold with other ring. It also provides 30% of increased cold damage, which is pretty nice. 60 mana and additional cold resistance, making it very decent ring. Also, shattering enemies which are chilled is a very strong bonus that helps significantly with clearing packs, so I think that ring right now is one of the most popular options for both hybrid and cold builds. Moving forward, we have Coil of the Brotherhood. Coil of the Brotherhood can move 100% of lightning damage converted to cold damage instead, and as you probably guessed, it worked in the hybrid builds when we are stacking one type of the damage and we are converting it to the next type. It also provides mana regeneration, additional freeze build-up and some lightning resistance. That ring could be very good if you still want to chill or even freeze enemies with your lightning build, which sounds pretty good for a lot of cases right now. It could be used for Crit Wave Monk too, however I'm not really going cold myself and will probably test it later. And the next item is Ryslatha Coil Ornate Belt. I think that belt is very rare right now and it should cost about 2 to even 3 divines at the moment, but it can provide a pretty decent damage bonus, together with 100 maximum life, which is very cool. It also gives increased flask life recovery rate, so you will be able to heal significantly faster. But the most important part here is more maximum physical attack damage, which stacks very good with builds that move physical to lightning, such as my Crit Wave Monk for example. That way Ryslatha could improve your damage significantly, even if it will be a little more random. Perfectly you need to roll 40% more and 30% less. That way Ryslatha is going to give you maximum amount of damage possible. It could make all your damage still a little too random, but overall it's a pretty good improvement, especially considering that we don't have a lot of cool options at the belt, and most of the time you just roll life at the belt and some resistances on top. And the last item here is Vile Knight Shielded Helm. That one is very unusual and requires some STR, but generally it's a very good bossing option. It gives 4% increased damage with hits to rare or unique enemies for each second they ever been in your presence, up to a maximum of 200. That's a huge damage bonus in almost all cases. And doesn't matter what kind of build you are playing, you can still use that helmet to improve your damage against bosses, especially against bosses that survive a little longer, such as Pinnacles for example. And downside here is that you don't have a lot of life and you don't have resistances, but it still stacks very well. And I'm sure that it could be used as a replacement in almost all builds, including my Crit Wave. So that's been my set of unique items that I currently consider promising, especially for my monk build, but for other builds too. I really hope that more unusual interactions will be found later on, and we will be able to explore them in the next builds too. Thank you very much for watching, and ronarray out.